Welcome back, guys. My name is Michael Alvarez. I'm with Highly Productive Logistics LLC. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you guys how to start a freight dispatching company from ground zero, straight A to Z on how to make it happen. Now, I know this video is a lot different from my last couple of videos. In the last videos, I've been teaching you guys how to start your own trucking company from step one all the way to getting your permits. So from filing your DOT all the way to your final permits, your New York HUD, all that. Now, those videos are more for compliance people and people are going to get into compliance. And in this video, I want to cater a little bit more to members of my group who are a lot of people who are a lot just looking to become dispatchers and get their feet wet in trucking. These are people with 9 to 5 jobs or who are in school and they're looking for an introduction into trucking. And I'll be honest with you, the best way to do that is to become a freight dispatcher. And unless you want to have a sour taste in your mouth, it's good to become a good freight dispatcher. You need to learn all the stuff you can possibly learn because without that, the competition and the market is so saturated that no trucker, nobody's gonna give you a shot at dispatching freight for them. So in this video, I'm hoping to teach anyone and everyone, specifically the people in my group, how to make it happen from nothing. Once this video's out and my group mentees and all the members in my group are that they're confident and they're out there making money, then I will come back. Well, I'm gonna make the video anyways for the compliance experts because that's what I am, but I'm gonna put more attention into that. Also, if you are looking to become a compliance expert and charge add that on top of your dispatching fees and all that, feel free to tune into the channel and you're gonna learn more than you ever thought possible. Trust me, you're gonna be able to charge these people a lot more because you're doing their IFTA taxes, you're handling their permits, and you're doing all that. So without further ado, this is the full guide A to Z on how to become an independent freight dispatcher. First off, a little introduction. So who I am. My name is Michael Alvarez. I began as an independent freight dispatcher in 2001, but I've done it before for a company. So first year I recorded 17,000 in revenue and about 15K in profit. So my only real expense was DAT, the load board. All I used was DAT. DAT, my phone, and my laptop, which I had already had before. So I was doing this while I was a full-time student studying accounting at college and I was working part-time at a gym. So I kid you not, I was at the gym, I was working the front desk. People would come in, they'd scan their key card, they'd go work out. After they left the front desk to go work out, I was on the gym computer and I was just booking freight. I logged into my DAT and I was just looking for freight. If I found something, I already knew where my guy was. I found him, I called him, negotiated the rate with the broker, and he sent me the rate con, signed that on DocuHub, which you're gonna see in a few, and boom, send it to my driver. And as I'm working in the gym, I'm getting paid for the gym. I just made another 250, 300 from dispatching that load. And it got to the point where I think like a month or two in, because if I remember correctly, I started my company in September 2021, which on my birthday, literally the day of my birthday, I filed for the LLC. And I had already been working at the gym. 2 months in, I was already making what I was making at the gym for my dispatching company. So I basically had those two sources of income. And then I think it was like the third month in, my dispatching company was already making more than what I was getting paid W-2 from the gym. So if you do it right, you can be profitable and you can make a lot of money. I'm not saying you're gonna get rich overnight, but you're gonna be making good money. Like, what would you give for an extra 15K a year? Think about it. From your computer. A lot of these people using their computer just to watch Netflix, watch Hulu, all that. My computer, my not this one because I was working on an older computer. My old laptop made me $15,000. Then I messed it up. I messed up the laptop. I'm not gonna lie, I broke it, and I used my LLC to buy me another laptop, which this one has probably made me like $25,000. So take that into consideration. But yeah, I was studying accounting at college. I was in classes. I would come out class. I'd get a call from my driver. Hey, I'm empty. I'd take my laptop out the classroom, sit in the hallway, book him a load, come back in. Literally just like that. Sometimes I wouldn't even have to worry about it because I like booking my guys a week in advance. So they were already booked. I'd be in class. I'd look at the tracker that he has because my driver would share his tracker with me. So I'd look at where he's located at right now. This guy's in Jacksonville, Florida. He just unloaded. I know he's picking up in 2 hours, a couple miles north, and he's gonna deliver that in Washington, in Yakima, Washington, for example, for a load of apples. He hauls reefer, something like that. I was in college doing all that while these other kids were struggling, looking for part times at pizzerias and stuff. I was making money off my laptop, and I know adults were making way more than me because I made sure not to go too big just because I had other priorities. But I know people who were averaging. My mentor, for example, he made I think about 300K in 2022, I believe. So yeah, there's definitely money to be made in dispatching. Since I started my company, I've dispatched over $1 million worth of freight, and recently, not recently, within the past year, I've pivoted from dispatching to a more of a compliance based role. I decided to use my accounting background and my trucking background and mix it together and become like a trucker's accountant. So I'll do their taxes, I'll file their permits, I'll do their if the personal taxes, business taxes, all that. And my company so far has profited about, I know it says 19K, but I made this PowerPoint about like 2 3 weeks ago. We're probably at around like 2022, around there, 22,000. Let's call it even say 21,000. And I know for a fact we've grossed over 30 something thousand, and we profited about 20. So that's about a 30% profit margin, which I've also done the research. 30% profit margin is kind of what it's expected in the service based industry. So we're literally hitting the head right on the nail, bro, or hitting the nail right on the head. Right here, that's the company logo, as you can see right here on the shirt. Just wanted to show you guys a little bit of our numbers. I just wanted to say there's no cap in my rap. Like, this is it. As you can see, this was I can't even remember what year the first one is. The first one is I believe last year. I think this is 2021. The our first year in operations. We made about like $15,000 in profit, and right here, this $20,000. This is literally the past year. So from January 1st to December 1st. Yes, I believe. Um, do take into account. I know these numbers do seem small, but I my situation was a little bit different from most dispatchers because I had a couple carriers who were in Canada, and they would come to the states and I'd book them loads and send them up. And the way I invoiced these guys was I'd send them an invoice, and they would pay me through T checks. The money would still end up in the same location, but the T checks wouldn't show up as a net sale. It was a very I only had like two Canadian carriers, and I'd always allow them to pay through T checks just because the currency switch and all that, and it made it easier for them. So yeah, but this is just showing you that like I got no reason to lie. Like these are numbers. These are the numbers I've made. I don't really know which one's which. If I'm being honest with you, I'm pretty sure the $20,000 is the past year. So that's from January 1st to now. That's what we've made so far. It's 20,000. And like I said, that's just basically profit. The 30,000 is is gross. This is what we basically profited, and that number is even it's a little too low because, like I said, the T checks wouldn't show up there. So take that into account. Just to show you like you could be making this. What is an extra $20,000 gonna do for you in a year, man? Like trust me, a lot of people would kill to have that extra $20,000. And I'm teaching you right now. I'm giving you the free game on how to do it, how to make it happen. Now that you guys know that I'm not BSing you guys and that there's actual money to be made as a dispatcher, let's get into it. So, what is an independent freight dispatcher? This is my definition: a person who finds and book loads on behalf of a carrier or trucker. Keep it simple. I'm not trying to overcomplicate it like these other trucking gurus and all that. Simple. Here's an example. Bob is an owner operator. He just delivered in New Jersey and is looking for a load that will send him back home to Florida. A dispatcher would hop on a load board or call brokers that person knows, which is that's down the line, but that right there is a free gem. Trust me, and try to find I'm trying to find and book Bob a load. That's obviously heading from New Jersey to Florida or in the New Jersey area. Once he finds something, he negotiates the highest possible rate and signs the rate con on behalf of Bob. Bob, I then, or the dispatcher then sends the Raycon to Bob. Bob goes, picks up, and delivers, gets that BOL, sends the BOL to the dispatcher, and dispatcher then sends that to the broker. Bob gets paid, dispatcher gets paid, everyone's happy, and everyone, including the broker, driver, and dispatcher, are all happy because they all made their money. So think of the dispatcher. The way I like to think about it is the dispatcher is like the QB in a football game. Like he's the one calling the plays, sending the trucks wherever he wants to send them to make the highest possible amount of money. Okay, so literally a good dispatcher, and me and my I have a bunch of mentors and all that, but we joke around about it. But a good dispatcher can literally make or break a company. I know it sounds like it's not that important, but a good dispatcher it is worth everything. There are people paying 10, 12% for a dispatcher. I used to only charge 5%, and my mentors only charge 5%. But trust me, if you're nice with it, you can go up to 10% of a load, cause a good dispatcher is worth his money and then some. How much can you make? So this is just a little continuation from that second slide. Dispatchers charge between 5 and 10% in the U.S. Overseas dispatchers charge less because of the currency change and all that. I used to charge 5%, as I mentioned, and I only had about 1 to 2 owner ops that I would dispatch for at a time. So once one guy would either go out of business or he just wasn't like he'd do it on his own, I had to get a new guy. And I had a pretty good turnaround rate for carriers. Like I'd lose one and I'd get another one within like a week. So I was never like I never needed carriers. I was always good. And remember, I was also a student, so I wasn't trying to overextend myself. A good dispatcher can make their carrier or owner operator about 6,500 a week, give or take. I know it's a bad market right now, but last year I was averaging 65 to 7 a week, and now, like I said, I haven't been in dispatching for a couple months to a year, but I still know guys who are averaging about 6,500 a week. With reefer, dry van would probably be a little less, flatbed would probably be a little bit more. And if you do 6,500 a week times 5%, that's about $325 going to you. Okay, so 325 times, let's do times two for 2 weeks. That's about 650, right? That's a part-time job right there, literally. Like when I was working blank part-time, that's what my paychecks used to look like. Every 2 weeks would be like 600 something. So right there, that's a part-time job off of one carrier. Now you multiply that by two or three trucks that you're dispatching, each making 6,500. You're getting 5% of each. That's 325 times three. Okay, so now you can see like that's why I said it's all about how much you hustle in the start. If you have that hustle, you can get 5 trucks. Multiply that 325 by 5. Your only real expense is the load board. You're making money. You're making profit. So yeah, you would multiply that by however many drivers you can handle, and that is what you can make. Down here in the far bottom of my screen is that 36,000. That's what I've grossed in revenue in 2023 so far. So that's what we've grossed. We're like I said, we're probably at around 22,000 in profit, so about 30% profit margins. And up here, that 5.7K, that was in the last 30 days. Granted, that 5.7 is like I'm gonna be honest with you, it's more compliance than dispatch, but some of that is still dispatch. This is where the guide is gonna get a little heavy. So these are the tools you're gonna need in order to begin. So first is your load board, DAT, truck stop, 123 load board, trucker's path. Um, there are some other free load boards, but we're not too worried about those. Out of those, if you had to pick one, definitely go DAT. No question about it. DAT is the one load board that every broker uses, and it's where you're probably gonna have the best success of finding good loads. Truck Stop, 123 load board, Trucker's Path, all those guys are good, but DAT is definitely like it's the top of the top compared to all those other ones. For payment slash invoicing, I use Square. Okay, I prefer Square. Makes it easy. You can do everything on Square. They like my mentor told me to start off with Square, and they're so good that I just never left. I'll be honest with you. So I'd recommend you hop on Square and you do what you got to do with that. Stripe is good, but it's for more bigger businesses. Square's made for the small company, so it'll be easy for you to navigate your way around it. Trust me, Square's the way to go with this. GPS slash mapping software. I use Hammer. A lot of people don't know about that. That right there is literally a gem that I just gave you. Hammer GPS. It is a literally GPS that truckers use. It's a free GPS. You literally go to the website, just hammer and put your locations. It'll give you the routes for a trucker. So truckers and regular drivers, they're not taking the same Google Maps route that you see. They're using specific routes because they can't get under certain bridges and stuff like that. So use Hammer. It'll give you a better, like, I guess, perspective on how long it'll take for your driver to get to that location. So if he's got to go from New York to Florida and you see it on Google Maps, it might take a certain amount of time. If you put it in Hammer, it's going to take a different amount of time, and you're going to get a more accurate perspective on the time. In terms of signing, I like DocuHub. I know guys who use Adobe Sign and stuff like that. I prefer DocuHub. You sign Raycons, you sign all that with DocuHub, and it does a job. There's no need to complicate stuff. I would say though, have your drivers download Adobe Scan, right? Reason I want them, I'd say to have them download Adobe Scan is because when they get a Raycon or something, simply it's as simple as just taking a picture and sending it your way. Adobe Scan scans it, and then you're literally good to go, man. You just email that straight to the broker. Job done. And then obviously the two basic things, cell phone and a laptop. You need both of those in order to start dispatching. If you don't have them, then you can't even, like, there's nothing to speak about. You can't even get in the game right now. I don't know if you guys can see it. You guys probably cannot, but look at that. Nice. Someone just paid their invoice. Got that from Square invoice. And that's like, I'm not trying to brag or anything. I'm just trying to prove like there is no cap in my rap. Like I'm 100% serious about this. You can make money without buying a truck and without spending an arm and a leg to get into the industry. So I do this. I do this for real. And I'm teaching all my mentors in this group is gonna learn how to make money. Everybody in this group is gonna be making money. I don't want to have a group. I don't want to have my personal group, my personal brand, and then have mentees, have people who follow me, and they aren't making money. Okay, so literally stick with me, and I'm gonna introduce you on how to make as much money as possible in the trucking industry. Paperwork. This is one of, if not the most important slide you're gonna see me go over today. Reason is paperwork, if not done right, leaves you liable to getting lawsuits and getting a lot of stuff you don't want to deal with. Okay, so definitely get everything on this page. Take the notes if you have to, but like I said, I'm posting this on YouTube and on my group, and the link is obviously going to be in my group. And I'm also going to do a live stream with my own group going over all this, answering questions and all this. So you are going to see this a lot more than once. And you could just go on YouTube and see it. So as for paperwork, you need that limited POA, power of attorney, which basically lets you sign for someone else, aka your carrier. Once you get that Raycon, you're gonna need to sign it yourself. So you literally sign it on his behalf. So if your carrier's name is Bob Smith, you get that Raycon from the broker. You have that limited POA signed already. You can just put Bob Smith and send it back. Completely legal. That carrier agreement, your owner operator or your carrier would sign this for you, and it basically says you can dispatch for them. Carrier agreement, your owner operator would sign this, and it's basically your terms and conditions. It's basically an agreement. It can be broken at any time. You guys decide when you want to break it, and it just says you can dispatch for them and that you guys are locked in together. Obviously, it's not a contract, just an agreement. Difference is an agreement can be broken whenever. A contract has to, there's certain parameters that need to be met. Carrier profile sheet, your owner operator fills this out, and it just lets you know what type of carrier you have. So certain carriers don't like going to cities like New York or Chicago. That'll be put in the carrier dispatch sheet or carrier profile sheet. And it's always good to have that just so you know where to send your driver and where not to send your driver. And it also tells you like the numbers. How much does your driver want to make? What is the least he will run for? Which are all very important things. And once we get to the numbers section, you're gonna understand why. When you first find a carrier or any carrier, you need these stuff from them. You need their certificate of insurance. Me personally, I require 100K in cargo and 1 million liability. That's just because all the loads that I book, I usually book high value loads like meat and all that, and that's usually what you need. You need really good insurance, but not all brokers require that. I know that the minimum is I think 750 in liability, so it's definitely a preference thing on what you want to work with and what type of hassle you want to deal with. But at the end of the day, like the more hassle, the more money, right? So W-9, you need your driver's W-9. You simply ask him for a W-9, or you can send him a template and he'll fill it out for you, and he just sends it back. Nothing too complicated there. You need their operating authority docs, their MC authority letter. I like to have their EIN number just to have it. What else? That's about it. Yeah, that's about it. And your notice of assignment if they choose to factor. So what is factoring? Factoring is just best way I can do it is by giving an example. I run a load today. Usually I won't be getting paid for 30 days in advance. 30 days later, it's like net 30. And a factoring company basically buys the invoice. They'll pay me on behalf of the broker today. So that let's say the load's $2,000, they'll pay me $2,000 minus their percentage fee, which is it's usually like 2%. And with that, I get the cash flow up front. The factoring company waits to get the invoice from them, and they keep their 2% on top. So it's really nothing too complicated. A lot of companies do factor. I recommend factoring. If you don't have a good factoring connect, let me know and I'll hook you up, because cash flow is one of the biggest things in trucking. And once you get more into it, you will see like lack of cash flow shuts trucking companies down. So yeah, these are the documents that every dispatcher should have. Okay. If you want to be in business and you want to be in business legally and you want to be good to go and squared away, all these documents are exactly what you need. No BS. Get all this. If you need an actual template, and you're in the group, like once again, you guys know me, Michael Alvarez. Message me on Facebook or whatever, and I will personally send them to you. I actually think I'm gonna probably post them in the group anyway, so you'll have them if you need them. If you're not in the group, feel free to join the group. I'm gonna put a link in the description, and if you don't want to join the group, you can always just try and find these online, or probably just pay a lawyer to get them up for you. Shouldn't cost too much. Practical steps: have your LLC set up in your state and be an actual company. So what is an actual company? It means you have your LLC and your EIN number. If you want, you can always do it yourself, or you can pay a third party person to get that set up for you. My company offers that service as well. If you want, you can message me on Facebook or even comment, and I got you. We'll get that done for you. One thing I do want to know is I know a bunch of dispatchers who started off dispatching for a friend. So that note that I have right there, unless you know a trucker that will let you dispatch for them already. If this is the case, I recommend doing that and getting the experience and then getting the LLC. So I know a bunch of wives who dispatch for their husband who are on the road, and they got that experience. Then boom, they're dispatching for them. They learn the game. They learn how to dispatch, and then from there they start their own company, their own dispatching company, and they not only do they dispatch for their husband, but they add 3 4 more drivers, and they got that experience first. They know that they're certified. They know that they know what they're doing, and now they got literally they got a profitable company, and they basically had zero startup costs because they were already dispatching for the husband at the start, which is a really good way. If you have the opportunity, I do recommend you starting that way for sure. Set up your tools. Purchase a load board. Like I said, I recommend DAT. Set up your invoicing software. Definitely recommend Square as well. And get a second phone number if you can. Google Phone. It's an app you literally download. It's completely free. Google Phone works. You don't need to set up a second phone, but unless you want to be giving your phone number to carriers, and when you're cold calling, giving your phone number to a bunch of random people, then I recommend doing Google Phone. But even me, like I didn't do that at the start. I just straight raw dogged it and just went, listen, boom, you got my phone number. It is what it is. You want to work together, just like that. Then you would get all the paperwork in order. Make sure you have every document you need. I recommend either having an Excel or having just a bunch of folders on your computer. You're gonna make a bunch of folders no matter what for each carrier. So just take note of that. Your computer's gonna get packed with a bunch of information. Once you have all those first couple steps done, you can begin looking for carriers. The first carrier is always going to be the hardest one, trust me. You're going to make hundreds of cold calls, send out thousands of emails, comment on the thousands of posts, or not even thousands, hundreds, before you get that first yes. You're going to get a couple yeses who say, yeah, they're good to go, but then they're going to bait. You might get a couple yeses who are good to go and are ready, but then you might fold, you might flop and just bait. Basically, you might be the one that baits, and you might send them the wrong document, and now they look at you like, oh, this kid doesn't know what he's doing, or this lady doesn't know what she's doing, and it is what it is. Like that's the game. It's a numbers game. The more people you speak to, the more new MCs you get in front of, the better your chances are. Okay, so you're gonna be a salesman. That is exactly what you are right now. You are a salesman, saleswoman, and you are selling your services to carriers, new owner operators that need it. Your services are in demand if you are nice with it. Okay, so don't do not be scared to get on that call. Do not be scared. You're gonna make a bunch of these calls. I'll tell you right now, the first I I'll say the first 20 phone calls you make are just you warming up. Okay, especially if you have no sales experience, those first 20 calls you're gonna make are you just basically getting your feet wet, getting used to talking to somebody you don't know, figuring out your pitch, all that. So don't take those first calls too serious. Like you're gonna get a bunch of no's, you're gonna get a bunch of people who don't pick up. Don't take it to the heart. Those first calls are your practice round. After that, after by like call 30, you'll pick up a rhythm, you'll know what you're doing more, and you'll feel a lot better, and you will have more of a chance to lock down these guys, to close them. Okay, because at the end, like I said, at the end of the day, during this step, you are a salesman or a saleswoman. These first calls are gonna be hard, and I'm not gonna be lie, it's a grind. Okay, I think I went through like a hundred calls or something before I got that first yes. But my first yes, oddly enough, was a guy, a Chinese guy. He owns one of the biggest transportation companies in New York. Like I've seen him grow, and he gave me a shot, literally. And I've met up with him in person. I've made him a lot of money. He's made me a lot of money. And even now with my compliance, I handle all his compliance. I've opened him up like three different companies. As for the cold calling, I recommend going to the FMCSA list of new carriers and just scrolling down the list. And let me know if you want a video on this, but I do think I speak about it real quick in another slide. But that is the way to go, especially if you're just starting out. You can do ads, you can do Facebook ads, Craigslist, reach out to go to truck stops and all that. But for the most part, as a person just starting out, I recommend doing those cold calls because this is going to separate the hustlers from the non-hustlers. Okay, you can make 100 cold calls, but no matter what, you're going to lose to the person making 1,000. So if you're really a hustler, Get that list of contacts and just get to it, bro. Just boom, 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 boom. Get to it, and eventually it's a numbers game. You are gonna get a yes. And once you get that yes, make sure you do everything you can to keep that guy. Once you get that first yes, send them all the paperwork together. Try to make it look professional. Do a professional email. You can use ChatGPT to write up the prompt and all that. But make a professional email. From then, from this point on, once you get that first yes, you're no longer you still are a salesman, but you're also a dispatcher now. So now you got a professional, and you're representing your own company, your own brand. Remember, like this is you. You are the company. So make sure you represent it how you want it to be, how you want it to seem from someone else's eyes. Okay. And you would send it back. Use DocuHub, PandaDoc, or DocuSign, and or hand scan it. He hand sign it. And he scans it to you. Whichever way, just make it look professional. Like now you're in the game, and you can don't fold this. Once signed, you can begin finding him lows and booking in his name. Obviously, so step 6 and 5, there's a step in between. Once you get all that information from him, you need to talk to him about the numbers and give like a 30-minute conversation with him about what he's looking for. Once you have all that information is when you begin looking for loads on his behalf. Understanding the numbers. I know I said one of the slides beforehand was probably one of the most important ones, but let me tell you, man, understanding the numbers is what sets the weekend dispatchers apart from the dispatchers who are 10, 12 clients, and they're making like they're pulling in like 2,000 a week. Okay, so as a dispatcher, you need to understand that your numbers of you need to understand the numbers of your carriers. 100%. There's no way around it. Here's a simple breakdown. Add up all the expenses he or she has by the total number of miles he expects to drive that month. How do you get that expectation of numbers of miles that he's going to drive? Just ask him. Any trucker is going to know how many miles they drive within a week, within a month. They all have a good idea. You do that math, and that's your cost per mile. For every mile you drive, that's the amount you spend. Okay? Cost per mile is probably one of, if not the most important number in trucking. Without this cost per mile, you're just operating blindly, and you have no idea what targets you need to hit, how much, what's the lowest rate you can take on a load, and how many miles you need to hit per week. Cost per mile is the number that basically it's literally the number you have to live by. No way around it. Once you know your cost per mile, you also know everything about the number about above that number. So let's say your cost per mile is 2.89, everything above it is profit. Okay? Your goal should be to get your carrier as much profit as possible. Always aim for around, I know it says at least around 0.60 cents per mile for profit. Always aim for 40 to 60. 40 on the low end, 60, anything above 60 and above is good money. Okay, so if your cost per mile, if it costs you 150 to operate, if that's your cost per mile, $1.50 per mile, I would aim for, I would never take anything less than I'd say about like 2.10, 2.20. Even that, like you could always go higher. And just like I said, I never take anything under 2.20. That does not mean I'm not gonna negotiate way past that. Okay? So if my cost per mile is 1.5 and I see a load on the load board paying 2.20, if they're paying 2.20, I'm shooting for 2.50, 2.60. Okay? No matter what, because if the whatever the broker is posting on the load board, he's got more. 100%. So understand your cost per mile, understand your numbers, and you will be solid. Without that, though, you are not going to be a good dispatcher. You are going to lose carriers quickly. And trust me, this one slide right here is what separates the people who pay $1,000 for a course to the people who don't. Honestly, it's this that separates the dispatchers. Here's another breakdown. If a carrier's CPM cost per mile is 1.70 and he ran 2,500 miles, he grows $6,500 that week. Okay? His rate per mile is 6,500. Uh, his rate per mile is 6,500, which is a total he grossed, divided by 2,500, which is the miles he ran, which is $2.6 per mile. To get his profit per mile, you do RPM minus CPM, you get zero point 0.9 profit for every mile driven. That means the driver took home $2,250 for the week. I calculate the CPM, cost per mile, with every single expense the carrier has. Okay, most people don't do that. They calculate it with just the trucking fixed expenses and variable expenses. I do it with everything. Okay, I don't care if he paid the 22.90 uh last July. I add that in, divide that by 12, and basically I guess I put that in with every month. Okay, every single expense that trucking company has, I add into his cent per mile. That's just so you can get the most accurate cent per mile as possible. And that is what we want. Very important point right down there in bold. Numbers are kept simple just for you guys. They will not always be like this and as good as this. Okay, so I just simplified it for you guys, but this is all the general idea. If you can understand this page, then you understand dispatching and you understand cost per mile. Once you have your numbers, this is what you're supposed to do. So after you have all your carrier's numbers and have calculated your cost per mile, ask him how much he would consider taking. What's the minimum he'll take? For most, 0.60 on the, like 0.60 above his cost per mile is decent. Is a decent starting point. Obviously, always go above that, and anything below that just isn't worth their time. Basic cost per mile includes truck payment, trailer payment, insurance payment, fuel mileage, driver pay, maintenance account, and other miscellaneous stuff. Make sure you add in every expense. I can't stress this enough. Not only are you going to look like you know what you're doing more, but it's going to be more accurate of a cost per mile, and your driver's going to win in the long run. All right, you guys. This is part two, how to dispatch tips. Okay. Now that was part one, just a quick summary of a lot of things, how to get started, all that. This is part two. If you're watching this in a straight go, feel free to pause it, get up, stretch, do whatever you got to do, come back, and then just get ready to take some notes. Okay, because it's gonna get gritty right now. Supply and demand is what trucking lanes are based off of. This is probably one of the most important parts about dispatching. Your carrier is relying on you in order to keep his truck moving. That means you determine how much he makes. If you're using what we call the spot market, which is all the loads that are posted on the load board, it's important to know which lanes are hot or tight. Hot and tight are synonymous, which they equate to lots of loads, little trucks, and which lanes are cold, which is lots of trucks, low loads. The reason is supply and demand. If there are 100 loads out of Jacksonville, Florida, but only 10 trucks in the area, brokers are going to be scrambling to try and get a truck, which means you'll be able to negotiate a better rate with the brokers and will have an easier time finding a load going out. Vice versa. If there's 100 trucks and only 10 loads, the brokers they're gonna have a bunch of trucks to choose from, and they can bring their rate down as low as possible because they know you're gonna need a load. And trust me, it gets bad. Okay, if you go to a bad market, don't be surprised the brokers are gonna try and undercut you by like 60 cents per mile. They're gonna bring you down below your break even, and that's at the end of the day, it's your fault as a dispatcher because you sent your truck to that area. Always keep your guy in the hot spots. That is the trick. That is the golden rule. If you can keep your guy, if you know two markets are hot, if you know uh, Indiana and Indiana to Chicago are two hot lanes where they always have stuff coming out, keep him there. Okay? You send your trucker to Indiana, boom, he picks up, he delivers in Chicago. Chicago's also hot, so he's going to pick up and deliver right back in Indiana. If you can keep running that play back and forth and you're making profit, you're good. At the end of the day, you don't have to overcomplicate things. You're making money. Keep your guy in the hot markets. Where dispatchers mess up is that they see a good paying load going from let's say New Jersey down to Miami, Florida. Now he's in Miami, Florida. He made a lot of money. It was a great load, probably paying like $4 a mile, but he made a lot of money and he can't find anything coming out. That's why they paid him so much to go into Florida because they knew there was going to be nothing coming out. So now he's stuck in Florida. He can't find anything worth the while to move his truck and he's losing money day by day. So he'll probably have to deadhead, lose money, go to a different state, and then pick up. That's where dispatchers mess up. You're supposed to keep your guy in hot areas. It's a lot harder than it sounds, but that's why you need to make a relationship with brokers, and you need to keep an eye on that load board. If you can do that, then you're gonna keep them in the hot spots, and you're gonna make a lot of money, and you're gonna make your driver a lot of money, which is at the end of the day your main goal. Route planning. The good dispatchers keep the drivers in good markets so that the driver can load and unload continuously. That is the goal. If you can do that, you're on your way to making a lot of money as a dispatcher. If you book a load paying $3 a mile going to Texas, you need to be sure you can find something good coming out of Texas, or else you might take a loss on the backhaul, which is what I just explained with the Florida scenario. That's not what we want. It's important you know and study your markets in order to keep your truck making as much money as possible. On the right, what you have here is you're gonna see this if you own DAT load board. I don't know if the other load boards have this, but this is a ratio of the loads coming in and out of each state. Obviously, the picture only goes up to Idaho, but it has every other state after that. If you take a look, you have, let's take a look at a state like Iowa, okay? You have 5 loads coming in. It's relative, so it's ratio, and it's not exactly just 5 loads from what I know. But you have 5 loads going into Iowa, okay, and you have 30 loads coming out. So that means you have a little bit of amount of trucks going in, and you have a lot of loads coming out. So you would want to be in a state like Iowa, for example, because you have more loads coming out than going in. So if you can get a load going into Iowa, you're more likely than not going to find something coming out. Same thing with Idaho, 206 to 15. That's good numbers. So if you can find something from PA to Idaho, right, that's paying decent, you know for a fact you're gonna find something coming out of Idaho. You're not gonna be stuck there. Vice versa, if you go to Arkansas, AK, you're gonna find 4 loads going in. Arkansas is basically dead. So let me not even speak about Arkansas. Let's talk about Colorado. 90, you have a lot of loads coming in, a good amount of loads coming in, but you barely have anything coming out. So you're going to be there, and once you get there, maybe you got a good paying load going in there, but you're not going to find anything coming out for the most part, anything worthwhile at least. So definitely take a look at this chart, which is on every DAT, or I don't know if it's on every. It might be just be on Trucker's Edge, which is the version I have. But take a look at that chart and study it, and understand that this is going to keep changing no matter what. I believe this was for reefer a couple days ago, so it's not even accurate right now. But keep an eye on that chart. It'll tell you where to send your truck for the most part. And this is, again, this is just included with Trucker's Edge. You can also get DATIQ and freight analytics and stuff like that, and it'll tell you more of a where to send your trucks. It'll literally give you all the data, analytics, all that. That's, if you have the money to spend on that, 100% a real good investment. This right here is an ideal load. Take note, almost it's stuff happens, and trucking, especially in trucking, shit happens. So it's not always going to be like this, but this is an ideal load. First, you find a load you like on the load board. You already know your numbers. You negotiate the rate you want. Step one after that would be you book the shipment, you book the load, you review the rate con. Very important. Review your rate con. It happens a lot. People get scammed by double brokers, or they get um, they look at the rate con, and the rate that they negotiated isn't put on the rate con, or the load times are different from what the broker said before. Trust me, review the rate con. That's why I put 2 stars, bro, because it happens a lot. And if it happens to you and you have to tell your driver, oh my God, I didn't see this on the rate con, uh, it's 100% your fault. You get that rate con to your driver once everything checks out. That way, all he has to do or she has to do is just drive to the location and pick up. There should be no mix up by the time he gets his Raycon. Nothing at all should be missing. Once you get that Raycon and you make sure everything's good, you sign and date that rate confirmation and you send it back to the broker, and you also notify the carrier, give it to the carrier. Boom. Carrier knows what to do. He goes, driver checks in, notifies you of the arrival, you notify the broker. He keeps you updated on when he's loaded and all that, and you keep the broker updated as a result. Uh, Driver loads, leaves the pickup, and he's driving. By the time you're ready to, by the time the driver's loading, I like to talk to him like almost before I go to sleep. Just give me a update where you at, bro. If he has tracking, you don't have to do any of that because you can see the tracking, and broker can see the tracking as well. But if not, you give him a call where you at. You send the email, send a text to the broker, let the broker know because a lot of these brokers are like they're annoying with it. So you gotta, in order to protect your driver from dealing with the brokers, you gotta take that responsibility and just deal with them on his behalf. That's your job. Your job is to deal with brokers on the driver's behalf. Okay, it's not just booking loads. You are the driver's representative to the broker. No way around that. Okay, if the broker needs to talk to the driver, he's talking to you, not the driver himself. Drivers don't want to deal with these guys. Shit, I'm a dispatcher and I barely want to deal with these guys. Okay, you don't want to deal with these drivers don't want to deal with these brokers. Your job is to be that intermediary between the driver and the broker. If the broker has a question, he asks you. If the driver has a question, he asks you, and you get the answers from either or. Provide location information. Check in with the broker. Morning check in. Notify the broker of the morning in the morning. All that. Once the driver gets to the receiver, he lets you know, or you can check the tracking. You notify the broker. Driver gets that BOL signed, all that. He gives it to you, or he sends you a picture, which is why I said Adobe Scan, simple picture, email it to you, and you just get that to the broker. And that is an ideal thing. That is ideally how it would go. Once you get that BOL, you would simply let the broker know you're trying to factor. If you have a factoring company, send them your paperwork. Boom, you'll get paid by the end of the day tomorrow. Literally that simple. That is an ideal load, and a lot of loads in trucking aren't gonna happen that way. Like we say in trucking, like shit happens for the most part. Like it happens, it does. And if you wanna be a successful dispatcher or be successful in trucking, you got to be able to roll with the punches, man. Like there's no way around it. You got to be able to roll with it, and you got to be able to take a couple hits. Something's gonna happen. There's no. It's not an if. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. Stuff will hit the fan, and a good dispatcher can roll with it and take it on the chin and figure out the next best move. Trust me, your driver will appreciate you figuring out the next best move by yourself and not having to ask him all these questions. If you can figure it out, if something happens and you can figure it out, you dealt with the broker already. You come back, be like, okay, this is what we're doing. He is gonna appreciate you a lot more than you know, and he will never let you go. That is why I've been with my drivers for 2 years. Okay, because they know I can roll with the punches. I can figure out next best moves, and I can when everything's going bad is when they call me, and that's exactly what you want to be to your driver. The spot market, is it good or bad? Real quick, the spot market is like I mentioned shortly in another slide. It's basically load board loads. So the way it works is all the loads that go to the load board are what trickled down from contract freights and already dedicated freight. So a broker has a list of drivers that he already works with no matter what. And the driver, if they have a load, let's say they have a load going from New Jersey to Florida, but those drivers can't take it, or they don't want it, then it goes down to the spot market. That's how it works. So the spot market is the crumbs. When you're a new dispatcher, you will inevitably be using the spot market for a lot, if not all the loads you book. But that is temporary. Make sure it stays temporary. The issue with the spot market freight is it's literally the freight that gets denied by contracted carriers. Think of it as the crumbs, okay? Brokers get loads every morning and send out lists of loads to their best and most trusted carriers. You need to be on that email. No way around it. If you want to be a successful dispatcher in today's market and today's day and age, you need to be on the list of dispatchers slash carriers that the brokers email every morning with loads. The best way to get on that list is to run loads for brokers and make sure you do it well. After 3 or 4 loads, ask them for the list, and then every morning you will be getting a list of new loads for your carriers. You will have first dibs on these loads. Okay? I still to this day get lists from I believe like 5 or 6 brokers every morning. And if I wanted to, I could get a driver right now off the street, any carrier. Just find a guy, leave my card in his truck, and I'd be able to keep him loaded for like for the next week because I get loads every morning from these guys. It's very important that you use the spot market for a while at the start. Run loads, make sure you run them well. Brokers like being notified about everything, so you keep notifying. It's your job as a dispatcher to notify the broker and get on the broker's good side. And once you do, ask to be on that list. Every broker, trust me when I tell you, every broker has a list of dedicated carriers that they prefer to use. And I'm on a lot of those lists. And trust me, once you're on the list and you get cool with the broker, the rates will go up. Okay? During the past year, I knew guys were running for 2 point. They were running for low miles, like low cost per mile or rate per mile. Sorry, they were running for like $1, $2 a mile. I don't think I ran a load last year for less than $3. And if I did, it was probably like real close under three, like 2.8, 2.9. So get on that list. Do what you have to do to get on that list. And it's basically how it sounds like. Just be a good dispatcher. Notify them when stuff happens. Keep them posted. Delivery updates, all that. Send a BOL right after delivery. All that stuff the broker takes into account. Some are just some just won't, and some those guys you don't want to work with. But the ones that do, you end up making a lot of money with them. Trust me. This right here is just literally what I just spoke about. These are load lists. So I get lists like these every morning from a bunch of brokers. And these are loads before they hit the load board. So once about like let's say 10, 11 hits, whatever is not taken, not booked up by carriers from this list will reach the load board. I get lists like this to this day. Full of loads that brokers are willing to pay decent price on and are like literally every morning they just reset different states, different cities, all that. I'm not going to be able to tell you guys which brokers these are unless you join my mentorship, but uh yeah, just know I still get these load lists like every single literally every day. Literally every morning I get these lists. And if you can like take a look, it's a lot of loads. Okay? If I have a guy in Nebraska, he's getting booked up. Look at Fremont, Nebraska, Fremont, Nebraska. Yeah, he's getting booked up. Illinois, Juliet, Illinois to Texas. Easy. I wake up in the morning, look at these loads. If there's anything that interests me, pull up the broker, call them, lock it in. It's really like that. Like once you get to that point, it's that simple. Contracted freight. Okay, this is what every carrier wants. Okay, everybody every carrier dreams about getting that contract freight. Why? Because unlike spot market freight, the rate of a contracted freight does not fluctuate with the market. Spot market freight goes up and down depending on the market. Like right now, our market is down, so the spot market rates are not as high. So these carriers are suffering on the spot market. If you sign a contract with a company saying you will run their loads for a year at $3 a mile, you will be running that load unless you mess up for $3 a mile. That is why everyone loves contracted freight. Everybody, every carrier, every owner operator, every company owner is trying to find a spot market contract freight. That is, if you can find your company, your carrier, or your owner operator contracts, do it because you can eat off that, and he will eat off that, and he will thank you. Not only that, but take a look at the screenshot up above. This is a contract that I booked my carriers. If you can let me see. I don't have my glasses on, but This was New York to Florida, right? And it was you needed two trucks, two team drivers. So it was one in New York, one in Florida, and they would alternate. They would go back and forth, right? And literally, I was all I had to do once I booked it. All I had to do was sign the rate cons that they would send to me at the beginning of the week, and send it back. And at the end of around Friday, I would invoice the carrier, and I'd eat from that. And so I'm now making money from this contract, but I'm also making money off the carriers that I'm actively dispatching using the spot market or whatever method of loads I'm using. So that was more passive income than anything. Contracts is the way to go if you can get there. It will take a while for you to gain notoriety, get to know brokers and all that, but once you reach contracted freight, you're good to go. 100%. The top dispatchers in the game find their carriers contracted freight. Go out, call brokers, ask people, and get them on and get them a contract. I've gotten UPS contracts, Tyson Food contracts, container shipment contracts, and meat contracts. All this going from I've even gotten contracts going from U.S. to Canada. Ridiculous. And you just once you sign that agreement that you're going to be doing that contract of freight for however long, all you really have to do is sign the rate cons. You don't have to actively go looking for loads because you're already locked in for the next 3 months. Just sign the rate cons, and now basically passive income. It's as passive as you can get in trucking as a dispatcher. Is contracts, and trust me, if you can get your carrier contracted freight, he will thank you or she will thank you. That is the way to go. Tri hauls are one of the things that separates beginner dispatchers to veterans. Okay, so what is a tri haul? A tri haul is a strategy where a third leg is added to a standard route, point A to point B, to enhance the overall revenue. Let's take a practice example. Imagine a carrier based in Memphis, Tennessee, with a reefer and trailer and no cargo or location restrictions. So he'll go anywhere, and he's in Tennessee. Anywhere, wherever the money's at, is what you're going to hear a lot as a dispatcher. In a typical A to B scenario, so Memphis, Tennessee to Philly, the carrier travels from Memphis, Tennessee to Philadelphia, resulting in an average RPM of $2.50. So from Memphis, Tennessee to Philly to delivery, he is making $2.50 a mile. Okay, that's all he's making. That's before expenses, obviously. That's gross. Now let's explore the tri haul options. Let's say he does Memphis and adds an additional stop in wherever, and then goes to Philly. So Memphis, Tennessee. Let's say he does Memphis, Tennessee to uh, Connecticut, and then goes to Philly. Right? By introducing an extra stop between Memphis and Philadelphia, we can uncover improved revenue potential. For example, adding another destination can result in a more profitable rate. So if Memphis, Tennessee to where did I say Connecticut is paying $3 a mile, so he does that, hits Connecticut and then hits Philly, hits Connecticut, picks up in Connecticut and then goes to Philly, he'd be making more money. If Philly is his end destination, he'd be making more money going there. He could always also start from Connecticut, pick something up in between Connecticut and Philly, delivering and start in Memphis, pick up in between somewhere between Memphis and Philly, and then pick up again and then deliver in Philadelphia, and he'll be making more money. It's a little complicated, so I do recommend you doing your research and looking into it a lot more in depth. And I'm probably not doing the best job explaining it myself, but he'll be making like it shows in the example. Instead of making 2.5, he'll be making 2.75. And in a game where cents matter, that's a big difference, a huge difference. Negotiation. Remember, every broker has more money in the load than they will tell you, no matter what. If a broker offers 1,700, they have at least 2,300 on the table. Trust me when I tell you, if they offer you 17, they have 23. I can guarantee it. Brokers are right now in the industry, for those of you who are just getting into it and just starting out, which is most of you guys. Brokers are looked at as the bad guys, But at the end of the day, they're also salesmen. Okay, that's what they are. They're salesmen at heart. So if they can sell a load for 1,700 and keep that 500 or 600, they're gonna do it, and they're gonna eat off that as well. Like they get commission, so they're gonna try and give you the load for the lowest possible rate, and your job as a dispatcher is to try and get the highest possible rate. So a bunch of times you're gonna see a load posted for 17, and the broker's gonna be like, all I got is 19. Like that's the highest I can go. He'll say 1,900 all in. That's only the case if it's a if it's a cold market. If there's more trucks than there are loads. Okay, if he really needs to get that load off, he will call you back and say, "Hey, I got a my boss," which is what he's gonna say. My boss just said he cleared me for another 200, 300, and then he'll give you that extra money. But that money was always on the table. So don't be afraid to negotiate. Like I said before, if you're in a market with lots of loads and little trucks, the broker needs you more than you need him. This gives you negotiation power. Okay? Don't be afraid to negotiate. Be a good, the best dispatchers put their drivers in position to where they have the best chance to get good paying loads, which are hot markets, and from there negotiate. They strong arm them, bro. They don't be afraid to negotiate. If he says 5, ask for 8. Okay, and then don't be afraid to hang up the phone, because if you did your job right and you put your driver in a good market, there are hundreds of other loads for you to pick from. Why you need that one? But again, it all comes down to you being a good dispatcher and placing your guy in good markets, hot lanes. If you can do that, the rest of the game is easy. Trust me. But it does take a lot of studying, a lot of thinking, and just a lot of experience to be able to do that right. And if you are in my group, you will have everything you need to place your drivers in the best possible lanes. Right here, this is just a quick, this is what a Raycon looks like. I wanted to show you guys, this is more for my group mentees. This is what a Raycon looks like. Okay, so in case you're just starting out, you've never seen a Raycon. I know when I started, I was really curious to see what a Raycon looked like. So this is what it looks like. This one was for 3.7 a mile. Like I said, during this time, most people were booking loads for $2 a mile. I barely went down 3, if ever. These are some more Raycons. Like I said, 3.2, $4 a mile. These are good loads. This was, I didn't even realize this was early January. This was, during this time was a really bad time for spot market freight. And this was a contract right here. So that 4.64 was contracted freight. What was it? I believe, yeah, Alabama to Mississippi. Had him on contract every Thursday and Tuesday. He was making good money. Billing your carrier. This is the part you've all been waiting for. This is how you make your money. At the end of the day, we're not working for free, so we got to collect a paycheck at the end of the week, literally. So I recommend using Square, as I said in the beginning. Uh, Once you set up with Square, you can create an invoice every week for all the loads you booked, and you just send it to your driver. He pays it, and please remember, I've seen dispatchers, they charge off their profit. That's not usually how it works. I mean, if you want to do it that way, you can do it, but it means you make less money. Dispatchers charge off the gross. So if at the end of the week the driver grosses 6,500, that is what you are charging your 5 to 10% off of. Is that 6,500 before all the expenses and all that? Okay. And I like to send out invoices every Friday for the loads booked from Saturday to Friday. The carrier has until Tuesday to pay, and if he doesn't, I don't book anything else until until the invoice is paid. Okay, a lot of times you're gonna find drivers who'll be like, "Yeah, I've heard about it. It never happened to me, but I've heard about it. Like, yeah, I'll pay. Just book me because like he's not running right now. Book me something. Don't worry. They'll go that whole week without paying. Now they're back 2 invoices, and then they just drop the dispatcher and do something else and go to another dispatcher, or they drop the dispatcher. Now they're working directly with the broker, and they cut off your fee, and you never got paid for the 2 weeks of work you put in. So be sure to follow that Send out invoices Friday for loads booked from Saturday to Friday, and give them that grace period up until Tuesday to pay. And if not, like, hound him, tell him like what's going on, and if he's trying not to pay, like, then it is what it is. There are things you can do for that. If you are curious on what those things are, join the Facebook group and I'll let you know. Carrier acquisition. This is the hardest part of starting a dispatching company, is getting your first carrier. I did over 100 cold calls before I got my first yes. I told you guys it was a Chinese guy, and it was luck, honestly. He set me up. He was the one who set me up completely in this trucking industry. I still work with this guy today. I made over 10K from him alone with both dispatching and compliance. This guy, in my case, I just got lucky. I'll be honest with you guys, but other people have had plenty of success stories doing what I'm about to teach you guys. In order to find your list for cold calling clients, which is how I got my first couple clients, this is what you have to do. Go to Safer. It's a website for trucking companies. You can search up their MCs and all that. Enter an MC. Just put any couple numbers, okay? And then go to licensing and registration. Then you go to FMCSA register. You click the latest upload, and then scroll down until you find non-fitness, and just begin calling from there. It might seem like what did he just say? But if you execute on these steps, literally step by step, you will get to the point where you have a list of clients and you just call them. What I like to do is a little cheeky trick is I'll call. I know it says you click the latest upload, but click the oldest upload, because these guys, everyone knows about this trick, but these guys in the oldest upload already got called before, and they've probably gone like what, a week or two without calling. So now you got them fresh, and they're actively looking. Like, they didn't just start their company yesterday. They're actively looking for loads and stuff. So now you're gonna fill in that need. You're gonna be that person that they need, and they haven't heard from dispatchers in a while. Because when a guy makes his MC, his phone gets spammed by dispatchers doing this exact trick. So either call the oldest guy on the list, or just simply, if you are a good salesman, I do that latest upload and just go straight for it. But what I used to do is I used to go for the oldest upload, oldest list, and just straight start calling down from there. These are carriers that just filed for the MC and are starting out. This is updated almost every week, and it's literally a pool of people looking to get on the road. They have their MC, they got their truck, they're ready to hit the road, but they're just new to it. And FMCSA by law has to put this driver information and make it public. So that's your advantage right there. Use that advantage, cold call, do whatever you have to do to get that money. Other methods include visit truck stops, referrals, word of mouth, job ads, CDL schools, and you can always pay for your leads. All these are all viable methods, and uh, some will probably do better than the cold calling. I know people who have had really good success with going to truck stops, but like, if you're tight for cash and you're just starting out, I'd give cold calling a try. Go for it. Because at the end of the day, like I said, when you first start out, you are a salesman. So cold calling is like the salesman bread and butter. I'd give it a try. Some final tips is dispatching isn't just booking loads. It's a skill that you need to get good at if you want to be competitive, especially in our saturated industry. It's a lot more to the game, and it's a lot more that you got to learn. I recommend you joining our group. We're teaching dispatchers how to. We've got dispatchers making two K a week. Like, we're teaching these guys how to make money. So if you want to be good at this skill, and you want to be a good competitor in this game, join our Facebook group, ask questions. Everyone will teach you. We're actively looking for moderators and all that, and administration, just to get rid of the spammers and the scammers. So if you want to learn and grow as a dispatcher, make more money while you do it, come to our group. Make sure to invoice weekly. It happens a lot. You'd be surprised. A lot of people don't invoice weekly, and they let the carrier run off with their money, which sucks. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, there's not much you can do about it. But you just got to eat that. Take that on the chin. I also recommend using Excel to keep track of your drivers and where they are. Also use it to keep track of the brokers you work with best. I have a list on Excel that's like 30 pages, 30 lines long, and it has all the brokers, their emails, their phone numbers, all the ones that I prefer to work with. Okay? Like that list, if I wanted to, I could probably sell it for like $50. Just an Excel link, and it'll sell because it's connections. At the end of the day, trucking is all network. If you have a good network of brokers you can work with, even if it's just five brokers can keep you loaded for months. Okay, there you'd have no need to hit the spot market. If you got five good brokers and they're decent and you work with them and they'll give you good paying rates, you're set. You're set. Most of these guys don't have that. They'll just take anything they find on the low board. They're not systematizing it, which is big. If you take anything from this whole presentation, systematize your business as a dispatcher. You don't want to just hop on the spot market one day and everything shit, and now you got to book your driver a shitload. No, if you can, like I do what I did. I would wake up, have access to all those load lists. If I didn't find anything I wanted there, then I'd make some calls to some personal brokers that I know. Hey, you got this, you got that. No, spot market is that last opportunity where I'd go to. Very last. Systematize your business. And this is a little thing. Adding compliance services will set you apart from other dispatchers. You would literally be a one stop shop for your carrier and it'll bring in more money. Like I said, I'm stepping away from dispatching and becoming more of a compliance slash accountant for truckers. And literally, a trucker that comes to me stops at me. So once he comes to me, I got him in my web and he doesn't need to go anywhere else. Okay, I got them for insurance. I got people with insurance, loans, compliance, permits, registrations, drug and alcohol consortium. That's all me. Compliance, registration, drug and alcohol consortium, accounting, all that me. I got them. They don't need to go anywhere else. Whatever they need, I got them. And you can see how that would prove to be profitable because he has no need for anyone else. My company is his one stop shop. Obviously it's not just me. I have members who work with me, but I'm that main connect from the trucker to my company. Like he doesn't need anything else. If he needs insurance, he calls me. If he needs uh uh if his driver just got into an accident, he needs to register for a drug test, a piss test. I got him. If he's behind on his IRS taxes, I got him. If he's behind on his IFTA, I got him. It's just more money. So there's no reason not to do it. And this, I can teach you how to do a lot more in depth because it's what I actively do. And I'm planning on hosting courses and seminars and all that that'll teach you how to make money. Like I said, all my mentees are going to be making money. I don't want anyone to be saying that they took my course or they learned from me and they haven't made money. Especially if they decide to pay me for the course or for the knowledge or for the mentorship. If you pay me for the mentorship, I want to be able to guarantee you money in your pockets. Okay? Especially with compliance. Because that's where I've made a lot of money. Like I've recently found compliance, and I've been doing compliance for a while, but I recently found making it into a business, and I've made a lot. I've made a good amount of money. You could also reach out with any questions. My email is there. If you have any questions, shoot me an email. Definitely join the Facebook group as well. That is all for the in-depth guide on how to start dispatching A to Z. If you'd like to learn more about how to start your own freight dispatching company, feel free to join our Facebook group. We teach everything trucking and compliance. We've helped people start businesses and owner operators grow businesses, and we've also helped people go from working a 9 to 5 to becoming freight dispatchers. So if you'd like, feel free to join. I'll post the link in the description. And yeah, come over to us and let me teach you how to make money in trucking.